So now, for the big treat we have in store for you today is our keynote speaker, and I'm not going to say much more. Ms. Morris has already talked about Ms. Mongeon. We have in our own city this most amazing sculptor who works in clay and bronze mainly. Her name is Bridgette Mongeon, and she's going to come and talk to you today. So let's welcome Bridgette.
Thank you. How exciting. Got to start my timer. My name is Bridgette. I live in Houston, and I'm a sculptor, as they said. I'm also an author. I write, and I work with STEAM, which is, I'll explain in a minute. This is going to be a curious adventure. How many people know the story of Alice in Wonderland? Yay, yay. Well, you may know me because I'm the sculptor that did a sculpture of Alice in Wonderland. This is a part of it, and this is, of course, the Cheshire Cat. I talk about STEAM education in the classroom, studio, and in Wonderland. But I'm also known I am a sculptor, and the things I sculpt is, well, sometimes I sculpt dead people. Yep, that's what I get paid to do. But I love that part because I get to meet families and bring to life the spirit of somebody that they once knew or that they love. I sculpt things for monuments, for places. This is a newsboy that's in Austin. And, but you hear the word STEM. What does it stand for? Okay, so basically what happened, there was a bunch of grown-ups that said, uh-oh, we have all this stuff that we're going to need jobs for, and we don't have enough people to fill those jobs. We really need to focus on trying to get students to study this so that when they come out of college, they can fill these positions. So I like that, but I add the A, and the A is for art. I call it STEAM. Because I think what STEAM does, if you have, well, first of all, I defy anyone to have a science fair and not have art. If you're going to build that volcano, you have art. If you're making that presentation fold or binder thing that you got to show, you got to do some graphic design. You got to put it all nice. They're gonna. Aren't your teachers grade you on how great your presentation is, right? It's all art. If you're speaking, it's art. So I'm a proponent of STEAM. So this is my motto, defend the A and go with STEAM. So I'm just going to ask y'all like a fist bump, and we're all going to say, defend the A, go with STEAM. Ready? Defend the A, go with STEAM. Yeah, I love it. I love it. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Defend the A, go with STEAM. I love that. Yes. We're going to do a following. This is great. Now, there's a reason behind that. I wrote a book. I've written several books, but this is the one that I did recently. I'm doing an updated version of this, which is really cool. And in this book, I featured artists from around the world who were creating really cool art. And this lady here, this is kind of a strange thing. She had cancer. She said, I want to see what my cancer looks like. So there's actually programs you can take your medical files and you can make them into 3D. And the free programs are listed in the book. And that's what she did. So this is her cancer. Yeah, it's kind of strange, don't you think? Ew, I don't think I'd want to do it. But artists are like that, you know. They do things that some people would never do. So she did this. Now this is what happened. She made this art, set it on a pedestal. She made jewelry. She could wear her cancer around her neck. Go figure. But the cool thing was, as a doctor came into her art show, walked around it and said, we've never studied cancer like this. Bam. They have a new way of studying cancer because this artist stepped out of the box, did something crazy, and I just think that's fascinating. So I think when you add the art element, it helps you to look at it differently. It's not to say that we're doing, it's science, technology, engineering, math, and art, you pick one. I think the art component is what I call interdisciplinary, and it mixes up with it. Another example is this. This one's really weird. When I was doing I did this as graduate work too, and put it in the book. I met Oren Katz. In this university in Australia actually takes artists and scientists and combines them and says, do something really cool. Well, what Oren did, it looks like a science project, but it's really his art. What he did was that's a coat of skin, human skin. Okay, thank you very much. Can I hear a little bit more? Ew. Yeah. I think actually it was human and rat skin. But this is his art project, and what he did was he seeded this, and he grew this coat of human skin, and he showed it in a gallery, and at the end of it, he broke it, and he killed the skin. And I went, thank you very much, because I'm doing a podcast with the man, and I'm going, ew, this really freaks me out. I mean, it kind of reminds me of this. But who is this? Okay, right, and what did they do with Frankenstein? They made him out of human parts, right? Okay, so, but wait a minute. I know somebody who needs a lung transplant, and aren't we getting lungs from somebody else that is already deceased? And aren't we kind of doing some of this already? And just because we can, does it mean we should? This is conversations that we need to have. And that's exactly what he was trying to do. He wanted to make sure that people could understand that what was happening in the lab is over here, and what's happening, people don't know about what's happening in the lab, and he wanted to bring that to light, and he did so with his art. And I thought that was fascinating. When I approached Natalie Mybeck about being in the book, and she said, why? I'm not into technology. And I said, but Natalie, what you do is so cool. And she said, well, okay, you can use me if you want. Natalie's a weaver. She weaves baskets, but she doesn't go into her studio and just weave baskets. She goes and she documents the phases of the moon and the phases of the sun and the tides coming in and out, and she creates data from that. Okay, so it's kind of like math and data. And then she lets the data depict what she's going to weave. So this is actually suns and moons and the tides coming in and out. And I love looking at that and thinking, what is that trying to tell us? Because I think when you can take data as art, it gives you something that, it's like magic. Maybe we're going to see something that we normally wouldn't see. Anybody hear about the Fibonacci number? Thank you. It's a number that they found in science and nature, like when you look at a sunflower and you see it going in a circle, 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 that Fibonacci number, that math number, is found in many different places in nature. Whoa. That's really weird. And that's kind of cool. So I think there's like a magic to it. I get real excited. So why did I get involved with this? Y'all listening? Why did I get involved in this? Well, a long time ago, I hurt my hand. And I couldn't hold the business card between the two fingers. And I'm a sculptor, and that's not a good thing. But let me tell you, when you see little things that this in my presentation sparkles, picture me with like a guru hat on. I'm going to give you wisdom from my many years. Anyway, obstacles turn into opportunities. If you come against a brick wall in something in your life, take a better look at it differently, because it can become an opportunity. I couldn't use my hand. I'm a sculptor. So somebody said, why don't you check out digital technology? Okay, I did. Not only did I check out digital technology, but I created a degree program, got the first degree ever created in fine art and digital technology, and I wrote a book on it. All because I couldn't use this hand. So who knows what's in your life that feels like it's absolutely insurmountable? You just need to look at it in a different way. That's one word of wisdom from me. This is kind of what I do. I create these huge pieces. This is for Grambling Tiger for Grambling State University. Nobody was killed in the making of this tiger. It's huge, 15 foot tall. And I work with clay, bronze, CNC, 3D printing. I'll talk a little bit about that. And no children were sacrificed. I love that picture. It's my granddaughter. And this is the Alice. If you haven't been to see the Alice Project, it's in Evelyn's Park in Bel Air. It is a very large table. You can go and bring your lunch and sit right there at the table and have a meal with Alice. Yes, you can climb on it. My favorite place to sit is on top of Alice's head. And we hid 150 things in the sculpture in honor of the 150th anniversary of the story. The story is that old. So now you can go and you can find these things, but when you go to look for them, hey, that's my granddaughter, she really grows up, huh? When you go to find them, write them down. I have a book at alicesculpture.com. It's a free printable, a detective book. You can document your findings. But you're going to need to know where they are in the story. So you have to go back and read the stories, too. Stories. Okay, so this is a little bit how it was done. Sometimes I'll sculpt in the computer. Sometimes I'll sculpt in the studio. I 3D scan what I have in the studio. I bring it in as data, and then I can create it and manipulate it in the computer. And a long time ago, when you created something small like that maquette, and then you wanted to create something really big, and right now I'm working on a 15-foot thing, and it's really big. Anyway, to do it, you'd have to take a measurement here, and then you'd have to find the point here, and take a measurement here, and it was laborious. It took forever. Now, I do this. I take that data and bring it to a company, and they computer numerically control mill it in foam. It's a urethane foam. That's the final cut. And then they send those foam pieces to me in boxes, and I put them together, and then I can carve on that foam, and I can add clay. So it is really streamlined what I can do. I can create many more pieces of art than I could before. And so you see the maquette of the Mad Hatter, you see the urethane foam, and you also see the clay, and that's a real little girl. That's how big he is. And we're also going and trying to find companies that can help us to create other things with the scene. We 3D scanned the whole entire park right there where the Alice is. And now we're going to try to do a gaming system within that so that kids can go, an educational gaming system so they can click on something and you can learn about the history of the novels or the books, or maybe learn about digital technology. And all behind that is math. So I don't have to deal with the math. Sometimes the math is done behind the scenes, but sometimes I need to know the geometry so that I can fix it if it's broken. So it's all math. That was actually one of the events we did at one of the, when I was a presenter here. And when you go to the scene and you see this teapot, you notice that this teapot is kind of not as ornate as everything else. And the reason being is because if you're looking for one of the 150, this doesn't have to do with the book, but on the bottom of it, you'll see Utah 1975. And the reason why it says Utah 1975 is years ago there was a professor, Professor Newell at the University of Utah, and he said, I want to create the first computer graphics. He went to his wife, what should I create? And she said, here, take my teapot. So he took the math and he made the first computer graphics. Now you will find this teapot in Toy Story and Homer Simpson, and it's kind of like an homage or a tribute to the man that created the first computer graphics. And so it makes sense that I'd put it in my sculpture, don't you think? So when you go to the sculpture, look at the buttons. They're 3D printed, and then we embedded them into the clay. There's many hidden objects in the sculpture that are in the buttons. The 150, there's 60 things under the table alone. So you'll spend a lot of time under the table. And this is one of them that's there. We 3D scanned a sculpture of my granddaughter, put her into the sculpture under the table. And in the story, there's a baby that turns into a pig. So sorry that my grandkid has to live with that. Yeah, you're the baby that turned into a pig. Anyway, at least she's in the sculpture. So now I'm going to get a little personal. That's me. Does it look like me? Okay, so I think one is like 12 and one, or 13 and one's about 10. Come on, you can see me in there, right? I feel that age. So I'm going to give you some of my more intimate. We're going to get a little intimate here, guys. And some of this stuff I haven't shared in years. Because when you see the sparkles, you know here comes the guru stuff. It doesn't matter what you're going through. You can find your way through it. Although I have a smile on my face, you may not know that at that moment and at that time in my life, I had a mother who was an alcoholic. a father who was an alcoholic, and my mother was also a prescription drug addict. I did not do very well with anything in my life, because when you have that type of thing going on in your home life, it's really hard to talk or to listen in school. It's really hard to do anything. And so, although I look really happy, it was really, really difficult. And I know that I could probably look through this audience, and you know who you are. I can't pick you out. But if you have something that you're going through that's really, really difficult, I want to tell you, you can make it through it. Look, I did it. I made it through it. I don't care what is going on in your life, you can do it. And then, when I was going through it, I had a profound thing that happened to me. I went and found a group called Alateen. It's for teenagers who have parents or somebody with an addiction. And I started to go to my Alateen meetings. And about 6 months into it, this gentleman came up to me and he said, would you speak? Could you speak? And I went, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, well, we're having a conference. Could you come and speak at the conference? I said, well, what do you do? And he says, all you have to do is tell your story and how you made it through it. And I went, oh, I could do that. So I went to this conference and I spoke in an audience. I was 13, 12, about the size of this. And when I got done, and I cried because, I mean, it was hard. There were some really difficult things about my childhood. And so I went through it and I cried and I was really emotional and my heart felt. And then I went off the stage and, like shaking, like I did this. And this young lady my age comes up to me and she said, I'm going through the exact same thing. And if you can make it through it, I know I can. Now, that one thing, that one sentence, that one interaction happened when I was 12 years old, and I hear it in my head almost every day. She made a difference by what she said to me, because then I could go on, and I could, if all of my terror and all my torment could help one other person, then it was worth it for me. So you never know what difference you can make in somebody's life. So now you know a little bit something more personal. And I'm pressing this button and nothing's happening. There we go. Oh, the old I can't because. But I can't do that because I don't have enough money. Oh, I can't do that because I'm not smart enough. Or I can't do that because I'm a girl. You name it, I've heard it. Wipe it out. Don't make excuses. They only keep you stuck. If you find yourself making excuses, I want you to face that excuse, and I want you to say, yes, you can. Now, take things a little bit at a time. I'm working on this really huge sculpture, and I promise you, every time I walk into that warehouse, I just go, I'm never going to get this done. There's a part of me that just goes, oh my gosh. But what I do is I do 6 inches at a time. Walk up to the sculpture, and I carve 6 inches, and I walk back, and I look at it. Carve 6 inches more, and I walk back, and if I just do 6 inches, eventually, I'll get the sculpture done. And I have to keep stepping back, because otherwise I'll have a really perfect toe, and it won't be the same size as everything else, and I have to do that all over. But if you have to do something that's too big, take it into pieces. You can. Fear is big because you won't look at it. I promise you. You start to face your fears, they get smaller and smaller. I kind of, think they're this great big monster, and then they become this little thing that's going. You are your own worst enemy. I'm sure you've heard that said before. That's because what's in your head and what you're telling yourself when you say, well, I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I'm not whatever, that's your own talk in your head, and you need to stop that, because you are your own worst enemy. You can get past all that stuff. And when you do get past it, wait till you see what you can do. So we're going to divide the audience right down the middle, right about here. You guys are going to be the negative side, and what you're going to say is, you can't work in STEAM, no way, no way, no way. And when you guys over here, well, let's just practice that. You guys here down the middle, you can figure out what team you want to be on. Let's try it. You got to say it loud like you're really mad and mean it, right? You can't work in STEAM, no way, no way, no way. Okay, you practice that. Now this guy's over this side. What I want you to do is, you're going to say, yes, I can, and then your brain is telling you, but you're going to say out loud, just try, and then I want you to fold your hands, look at the other side and say, watch me, okay? All right, with an attitude. I got to see an attitude on that last light, like, watch me, okay? So, I'm going to point to these guys, they're going to say theirs. When I point over here, it's going to be your turn to really talk them down, okay? You can't work and see. No way, no way, no way. Yes, I can. Just try. Watch me. Yeah. All right, all right, all right. A couple more things, because we're going to do this again before we leave. A library. A library can be like a secret hideaway. It is the best thing. I wish somebody would have told me that when I was your age or younger. You can go to the library and you can learn anything. And if you want to get away from it all, go to the library. If you want to get away from it all, get into books. You can learn anything. Books are your adventure. If you can't read, if you have dyslexia, if you have ADD, there are audiobooks that you can get with your library card that are free. I listened to 75 audiobooks last year while I was sculpting. You can get anything on audiobook. Study can be fun and an adventure. Watch where it takes you. You can have so much fun studying. I know it sounds weird because you're going like, no, there's no way it's study. I can't do that. You can. I'll give you some hints. There is more than one way to learn. Look up learning styles and find out what the best learning style is for you. Did you know that some people learn better by touching? Some people learn better by listening to it over and over again. Some people learn better by putting it in color. Learn what your learning style is. Look that up on the internet and figure out what your learning style is. All right, this is really important. You got to go study, right? I learned this technique. It's called an elevator pitch. You had to do it to a publisher. And what you do with a publisher is an elevator pitch meant you needed to say what you needed to say and when you got in the elevator to sell him to buy your book by the time you got to whatever floor, okay? So when you press the button, you go, oh, my book about the Zen of business and carving a creative life is what I had to go through when I was having some difficult times with a vendor that went under, and I thought, boy, this business is no longer fun. Can Zen and can business live together? Can you have this thing together? And so as I started to write about it, and I put myself through my own therapy, and I talked to other people, that's where the Zen of business and carving a creative life came from. Can I sell you this book? And that's what an elevator pitch is. Now, just think of this for yourself. If you can create an elevator pitch about what you have to study, teacher tells you to go home and study World War II. Go home and try to figure what the key points and make an elevator pitch. And I promise you it will help you with your studies. The other thing is, think of it as a cocktail party. All right? Pretend with your friends you're going to a cocktail party and you have to talk about World War II. Not something I'd like to talk about at a cocktail party, but you never know. So you can even get your friends together, get some fake cocktails in a glass and get together, and now you have to discuss. I have to discuss with you about World War II. I probably should know some important names and a couple dates just to impress you, and then we could have this conversation. So think of it as cocktail party conversation. It's not studying. Now, plan for your pony. This is a really cool one. Once upon a time, there was a little girl, and she wanted a pony more than anything in the whole world. And she went to her mother and said, Mom, I want a pony. Please, can I have a pony? And she said, well, what do you know about ponies? Do they eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? What? She said, you see, come back to me when you know more about ponies. So what'd she do? She went to the library. She looked up everything that she could about ponies. And she came back, and then not only did she look everything up about ponies, but then she also went and found people who had ponies. And she went and volunteered. I'm going to go volunteer over here where they have these ponies. And she did everything that the pony keepers needed her to do. Well, in the adult world, we call this networking. Let's just call it planning for your pony because it's so much more fun. Well, one thing she realized that she had to clean up a little bit of this. And this was not so much fun. So although she knew everything about ponies, she didn't like doing this. But she did like to ride. And so she was able to narrow down her focus by volunteering and going, I don't want to do that. I just want to ride. And then she said, I think I'll learn everything about being a jockey. Maybe I could be a jockey or a rider in some other type of riding. And so it narrowed her thing. Now here's the key. She became known to all the pony keepers. So whenever she wanted to go get a pony and ride a pony, she had a whole list of people that wanted her to come and ride ponies because they loved her. She worked in their stalls, and all the ponies loved her, and the pony keepers loved her. So plan for your pony. You see something you really want, you're going to go and you're going to just start to look at it. Focus on it. You go to one of these events today. I really liked space. Maybe I'll get into space. And then you could go to the library and research it and start planning for your pony. Now, we're going to skip this one. I just want to hear everybody say, yes, I can, just because you guys didn't do the attitude. You're going to practice your attitude so everybody can give an attitude. Yes, I can, just try, watch me. Are you ready? Yes, I can, just try, watch me. Thank you.
My name is Mena. So my question is, what age did you start writing?
Oh, that's a really good question. I was younger than y'all when I started writing. And so just start writing and just write your thoughts down in a notebook. It's a really good question. Thank you for asking it. And I remember one of the earliest things I wrote was, got to remember I was in a dysfunctional family. As I experienced the beautiful things in life, they are not as I had dreamt them to be. And I sometimes wonder if the rest of life is beautiful or just a dream. That was something I wrote about your age. And in our pilgrimage on this earth, we sometimes fail to see all who the Lord touches through us in simple words and deeds. So if you're writing, yay. Another question.
My name is Isabella, and my question was, why did you decide to put all of those little stuff underneath the table?
Because I'm crazy. No, it wasn't a part of my contract. I didn't have to do that. But I thought it would be so much fun to celebrate the author in his 150 years. And yeah, it was a lot of extra work.
My name is Fumilola Falabi, and I wanted to ask, why did you decide to do sculpting?
Why did I decide to do sculpting? I've always been an artist ever since I could pick up a crayon. I knew I wanted to be an artist. I was probably in my 20s when I went to the beach and I started sculpting in the sand. And even though I was doing research on the brain and creativity up until that point, but when I found sculpting, it was like I came home and I knew it was my medium, and it really just felt wonderful.
Hi, my name is Mia, and I wanted to know if you have any tips for any kids going through dysfunctional families.
Well, besides some of the tips, I'm going to say that there's a lot of resources out there for you. And if you don't know any, you've got my social media stuff. You can contact me, and I'll try to put you in contact with some. But ask an adult. And if that adult doesn't know, ask another adult. And do some searches on the internet. You'll find so much help on the internet. So it's a really good question. I'm glad you asked it. But don't give up, because you're in charge of your life. You think your parents are in charge of your life? No, you're in charge of your life.
My name is Farida. How long does it take you to do what you do?
How long does it take you to do a sculpture?
Oh my gosh. Alice in Wonderland was 6 years of my life. But it took me 3 years for him to sign the contract. So that takes you. I did B.B. King in 24 hours, so I know I can do a portrait bust really quick.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Alvarado, and I'm asking this question. What inspires you to sculpt things, or what is your inspiration when you sculpt?
Money. Yeah, he's going here. No, actually, I get paid to do what I do, and I like to pay my mortgage, so that's inspirational. But I try to weave what I like to do into what I get paid to do, like the Alice in Wonderland sculpture. I mean, how many people get paid to sculpt in mud, to play in mud all day, and to do Alice in Wonderland? So yeah, it's a really good question.
My name is Isabella. What was your inspiration to start writing?
What was my inspiration for what?
Start writing.
To start writing? I think writers can't not write. It's in you, and you've got to get it out. And that'll help you guys if you are in a dysfunctional relationship or family, if you write about it, it will, I call it throwing up on the paper. Just throw up on the paper. Helps to get it out. But so that's my inspiration. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Natalie, and my question for you is, were you always gifted in art?
Hi, Natalie. I think I was. Like I said, ever since I could color, I wanted to. But I have to tell you, I remember being in kindergarten. I was my kindergarten teacher. I was walking in the first day. Look, I do really good coloring pages. And she said, well, we don't color like that in the lines in this school. And it just put me right down. And then I got my first commission in kindergarten because she wanted me to do the bulletin board for Christmas. And I went, she didn't like my coloring pages. Why does she want me to do the bulletin board? And I had to draw pictures of reindeer. And so I said, I don't know how to draw. I was like 5, 6. I don't know how to draw reindeer. And she said, well, I'll get you a picture you can look at. And I just looked at her like, well, if you have pictures of reindeer, then why are you asking me to draw them? Anyway, my first commission was in kindergarten. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Samira. The question is that who inspired you to do this?
Who inspired me to do this? This is a subjective term. Is it this the art, this the writing, because I am so many different people, or this the STEAM? I think that I think that there's a lot. I have a spiritual background, so I believe divinely inspired. I believe in that. And so I would say that was my inspiration for it all. Because although I'm a very you see I got a lot of different things, somehow they're all woven into a tapestry that I can't see the pattern when I'm real close, but if I back off, I can see how God put everything together. Thank you, guys. Have a great day. You're going to have fun.
ESL beginners and intermediate who comes to our campus, and a lot of them are artists, and sometimes I encourage them to get better at their math, because math and art is intertwined together. We always talk about STEM so much, and I like it that she said STEAM. Defend the A, go with STEAM. Defend the A, go with STEAM. STEAM. So I'm going to take this back to AMS to encourage my students that art goes wonderful with math. Thank you. Thank you.
I thought your speech was really inspiring. As someone who wants to go and major in graphic design, I really liked how you wanted to incorporate art into STEM and make it STEAM. Because I feel like in society, in this career field, art is not talked about a lot, but art is a part of like many different things. It's a part of everything that we do, and I thought it was so cool how even though there was an obstacle standing in your way, you overcame that and you use some technology today, like 3D printing, to help with your designs and your sculptures. And I thought what you did was so beautiful. I think that Alice was fun part. I really want to miss it.
Oh, cool. Well, you do let me know. We'll go together. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.